It was a bright, sunny Saturday morning in Pinewood Hills. This place was a small, quiet neighborhood where houses sat close together, all neat and tidy. The grass was green, the birds were chirping, and it seemed like everyone knew everyone, or at least, that's what people thought. Kids rode bikes down the street, laughing and shouting. Dogs barked at squirrels running up trees. Everything looked normal, like a happy little picture from a storybook. But today? Oh, today was going to be anything but normal. Let me tell you about Jake Carter. Jake was a cool, easygoing guy who just moved into Pinewood Hills. He wasn't loud or fancy. He didn't show off or try to act big. Nope, Jake was the kind of guy who liked to keep things simple. He had messy brown hair that stuck up in funny ways, and he wore old sneakers with holes in them. His clothes? Just a plain t-shirt and jeans, nothing special. But what made Jake stand out was his truck. Oh yeah, that truck was something else. Picture this, an old, beat-up pickup truck parked right in front of his new house. The paint was chipped, and it had little rust spots here and there, like freckles on a kid's face. It wasn't shiny or new, but Jake loved it anyway. And the best part? The truck was covered in goofy stickers. Not boring ones, either. These were silly and fun. One sticker showed a cartoon alien with big googly eyes, sticking up its middle finger like it was saying, "Take that." Another sticker said, "Honk if you love pizza," in big, bright letters. There was even one with a dancing hot dog wearing sunglasses. Weird, right? But that's what Jake liked, stuff that made him smile. To Jake, those stickers were harmless. They were just little jokes, something to make the day a bit brighter. He didn't think anyone would care about them. I mean, who gets mad about a pizza sticker? It's pizza. Everyone loves pizza, don't they? Well, not everyone. And that's where Linda Grayson comes in. Linda Grayson wasn't just any neighbor. Nope, she was the boss of the HOA, the Homeowners Association. That's a group of people who make rules for the neighborhood, like no loud music or keep your grass short. But Linda? She didn't just follow the rules, she acted like she made them all by herself. She was the queen of Pinewood Hills, or at least she thought so. Linda was tall and skinny, with sharp eyes that could spot a weed from a mile away. Her hair was always pulled back tight, like it was afraid to move. And she never smiled, not really. Her lips might curl up a little, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was more like a "I'm watching you" smile. Every day, Linda walked around the neighborhood with a clipboard in her hand. That clipboard was her weapon. She'd write down anything she didn't like, anything that broke her precious rules. A bike left in a driveway? She'd scribble it down. A mailbox painted the wrong color? Onto the clipboard it went. Linda loved being in charge. She loved telling people what to do. And if you didn't listen? Oh boy, you were in trouble. She'd knock on your door, wave that clipboard, and talk your ear off until you fixed whatever she hated. Jake didn't know much about Linda yet. He'd only been in Pinewood Hills for a couple of days. He was still busy unpacking boxes in his new house. It was a small place, nothing fancy, just a little white house with a porch and a squeaky front door. Inside, there were stacks of cardboard boxes everywhere. Some had kitchen written on them in messy marker. Others said clothes or random stuff. Jake didn't care about unpacking fast. He took his time, humming a little song while he worked. Every now and then, he'd step outside, grab a cold glass of lemonade from a pitcher on the porch, and sit down to relax. That's what he was doing that Saturday morning, sipping lemonade, watching the clouds, and thinking life was pretty good. But Linda? She wasn't sipping lemonade. She wasn't relaxing. No way. Linda was on a mission. From the moment Jake's truck rolled into Pinewood Hills, she'd been watching him. Not in a friendly welcome to the neighborhood way, either. More like a hawk watching a mouse waiting for it to mess up. She stood across the street that morning, hidden behind her big sunglasses, staring at Jake's truck. Those stickers. They caught her eye right away. To her, they weren't funny or cute. They were trouble. Big trouble. See, Linda had rules in her head, rules she thought everyone should follow. And one of those rules was about how things should look. Houses should be perfect. Yards should be neat. Cars. Oh, cars had to be clean and boring, no wild colors, no dents, and definitely no stickers. Especially not stickers with aliens flipping people off or hot dogs dancing around. To Linda, Jake's truck was like a giant sign shouting, "I don't care about your rules." And that made her mad. Really mad. Jake didn't notice Linda staring at him yet. He was too busy enjoying his lemonade. The sun was warm on his face, and a soft breeze rustled the trees. He leaned back in his chair, stretched his legs out, and took a big sip. The lemonade was sweet and cold just right. He smiled to himself, thinking about how nice it was to have a new start in a new place. Sure, the house needed some work. The paint was peeling a little, and one window wouldn't open. But it was his, and that felt good. Meanwhile, Linda was steaming. She gripped her clipboard so tight her knuckles turned white. She muttered to herself, her voice low and grumpy. "Stickers," she said, like it was a bad word. "Who does he think he is? This is Pinewood Hills, not some junkyard." She tapped her pen on the clipboard, making little angry dots on the paper. Already, she was writing Jake's name down. "Jake Carter," she scribbled. "Truck with illegal stickers." Illegal? Well, not really, there wasn't an actual law against them. But in Linda's world, anything she didn't like was illegal. And she didn't like Jake's truck one bit. Back on his porch, Jake set his lemonade down and stood up to stretch. He looked at his truck and grinned. Those stickers always made him laugh. He'd put them on years ago, back when he was driving around with his buddies, having fun. The alien one came from a silly road trip where they joked about UFOs. The pizza one? That was from a night when they'd eaten way too much pepperoni and thought it'd be hilarious to tell the world. The hot dog sticker, he couldn't even remember where that came from, but it cracked him up every time he saw it. To Jake, the truck was like a scrapbook on wheels, full of happy little memories. Linda didn't care about memories, though. She didn't care about fun or smiles. She cared about control. And right then, as she watched Jake stretch and smile, she decided he was her next target. She wasn't going to let some new guy roll in with a messy truck and ruin her perfect neighborhood. No way. She straightened her shoulders, adjusted her sunglasses, and started planning. She didn't say hi to Jake. She didn't wave or smile. She just stood there, plotting, like a villain in a cartoon. Jake, totally clueless, grabbed another box from his truck. It was labeled books, and it was heavy. He huffed and puffed as he carried it inside, setting it down with a thud. Then he wiped his forehead and went back out for more. He didn't see Linda across the street. He didn't hear her muttering. He didn't know she was already writing a big, angry note about him on her clipboard. All he knew was that the sun was shining, his lemonade was tasty, and he was happy to be in Pinewood Hills. But here's the thing, Jake didn't know something big. Something wild. And Linda? She didn't know it either. That sunny Saturday morning wasn't just another day. It was the start of something crazy, something that would flip everything upside down. Jake thought he was just a guy with a funny truck. Linda thought she was the queen who could boss everyone around. But soon, oh, so soon they'd both find out how wrong they were. What was coming? Can you guess? Was it something about Jake? Something about Linda? Or maybe something about that truck? I won't tell you yet, not all of it. But I'll give you a little hint, this day was about to get loud, messy, and totally nuts. Imagine sirens. Imagine shouting. Imagine Linda's face turning as red as a fire truck. Yeah, it's going to be that kind of day. Jake kept unpacking, sipping his lemonade, and smiling at his stickers. Linda kept glaring, scribbling, and plotting. The neighborhood stayed quiet for now. The kids on bikes zoomed by. The dogs kept barking. The sun kept shining. But under all that normal stuff, something was brewing. Something big. Something that would make everyone in Pinewood Hills stop and stare. So, what do you think? Was Jake's truck going to cause a fight? Was Linda going to do something mean? Or was there a secret waiting to pop out and surprise them both? Hang on tight, because this story's just getting started. That Saturday morning was the spark. The real fire? It's coming soon. And when it hits, you won't believe what happens next. Monday came fast after that sunny Saturday. The weekend was gone, and Pinewood Hills woke up to a new week. The sun was still shining, but it wasn't as hot, just warm enough to feel nice. Jake Carter, our chill guy with the goofy truck, was out in his driveway. He wasn't unpacking boxes anymore. Nope, Today he had a different plan. He was washing his truck, and he was having a good time doing it. Picture this, Jake standing there in his old sneakers and a faded blue t-shirt. He had a big, soapy sponge in one hand and a hose in the other. Water splashed everywhere, making little rainbows in the sunlight. His truck, that beat-up old pickup with the funny stickers, was parked right there in the driveway. Jake squirted the hose at it, and the water ran down the sides, washing away dirt and dust. The alien sticker, the one with the cartoon guy flipping the bird, sparkled in the sun. The "Honk if you love pizza" sticker looked brighter too, with bubbles sliding over the letters. Even the dancing hot dog sticker seemed to wiggle a little under the water. Jake looked at them and chuckled to himself. "These are so dumb," he said out loud, but he was smiling big. He loved those stickers. They were silly, and silly stuff made him happy. The driveway was wet now, with puddles forming around his feet. Jake didn't care, he just kept washing. He scrubbed the hood with the sponge, making big circles. Soap suds piled up, white and fluffy, and some got on his shirt. He laughed again, shaking his head. It was a quiet morning, and he was in a good mood. The birds were singing in the trees, and a soft wind blew through, rustling the leaves. Everything felt peaceful. Jake figured it'd be a normal day, just him, his truck, and some soap. But normal? Oh, that wasn't going to last long. Across the street, Linda Grayson was watching. Remember her? The HOA queen with the clipboard and the mean stare? Yeah, she was back, and she wasn't happy. Linda had been keeping an eye on Jake ever since he moved in. She didn't like his truck. She didn't like his stickers. She didn't like him. And now, seeing him out there washing that truck like nothing was wrong? That made her mad. Really, really mad. Linda stood on her porch, arms crossed tight. Her face was turning red, redder than a ripe tomato sitting in the sun. Her eyes were locked on Jake, squinting hard like she could zap him with a glare. She wore a stiff gray dress that didn't move in the wind, and her hair was pulled back so tight it looked like it hurt. In her hand? That clipboard. Always that clipboard. She gripped it like it was her best friend, her fingers digging into the edges. Linda wasn't just watching Jake, she was judging him. And she'd already decided he was trouble. Jake didn't see her yet. He was too busy scrubbing. He moved the sponge over the alien sticker, careful not to scratch it. "You're my favorite," he said to the little cartoon guy, grinning like a kid. Water dripped off the truck and splashed his sneakers, but he didn't mind. He was in his own little world, humming a tune, enjoying the day. But then he heard footsteps. Loud ones. Fast ones. Angry ones. Linda marched across the street like a soldier going to war. Her shoes clicked on the pavement, click, 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 sharp and quick. She didn't walk slow. She didn't wave or smile. She came straight at Jake, her face all scrunched up and her clipboard raised like a shield. Jake heard the clicks and turned around, sponge still in his hand. Water dripped from it, plopping onto the ground. He blinked, surprised, as Linda stopped right in front of him. She was close, too close, and she looked ready to explode. "Those stickers are illegal," Linda barked. Her voice was loud and rough, like a dog growling at a stranger. She pointed at the truck with one bony finger, jabbing the air like she was poking holes in it. "They violate HOA rules, and I'm reporting you." Her words came out fast, sharp, and mean. She wasn't asking. She wasn't suggesting. She was telling Jake he was in big trouble, like she'd caught him robbing a bank or something crazy. Jake stood there, sponge dripping, and stared at her. For a second, he didn't say anything. He just looked at her red face, her pointing finger, and her clipboard. Then he shrugged. "They're just stickers, lady," he said, calm as could be. "Relax." His voice was soft, like he was talking to a friend. He didn't yell back. He didn't get mad. He just shrugged again and turned back to his truck, dipping the sponge in the soapy bucket. To him, it wasn't a big deal. Stickers weren't hurting anyone. Why was she so worked up? But Linda? Oh, Linda didn't like that. She didn't like relax. She didn't like shrugs. And she really didn't like being ignored. Her eyes got wider, and her face got even redder, if that was possible. She looked like a balloon about to pop. "Relax," she snapped, her voice going higher. You don't tell me to relax. This is my neighborhood, and I say those stickers are against the rules. She waved her clipboard in front of his face, so close he could have grabbed it. On the paper, she'd already written Jake Carter illegal stickers in big, messy letters. She tapped the pen on it, tap, tap, tap hard and fast. Jake turned back around, wiping his wet hands on his jeans. He tilted his head and looked at her. Rules, he said. What rules? They're just stickers. They're not loud or dangerous. What's the problem? He wasn't trying to fight. He was just confused. He'd never heard of a rule against stickers. Was that even a thing? He didn't think so. But Linda acted like it was the biggest crime ever. The problem, Linda said, stepping closer, is that they're ugly. They're rude. They make the street look like a dump. Her voice was shaking now, like she was so mad she could barely talk. We have standards here. And you're breaking them. She pointed at the alien sticker. That thing flipping people off? Disgusting. And pizza? Hot dogs. This isn't a joke. She was yelling so loud that a couple of neighbors peeked out their windows, wondering what was going on. Jake raised an eyebrow. It's supposed to be a joke, he said. You know, funny. Makes people smile. He pointed at the pizza sticker. Who doesn't like pizza? Come on. He was still calm, still trying to keep it light. He didn't want a fight. He just wanted to wash his truck and enjoy his day. But Linda wasn't smiling. Not even close. She took a big step back, pulled her phone out of her pocket, and held it up like a weapon. You think this is funny, she said. I'll show you funny. Her fingers moved fast, tapping the screen. Jake watched, leaning against his truck, arms crossed. He figured she was texting someone, maybe another HOA person, to complain about him. But then he heard it. 3 little numbers. 9-1-1. Linda was calling the cops. Jake's eyes got a little wider, but he didn't move. Linda held the phone to her ear, glaring at him the whole time. When someone answered, she didn't wait. She screeched into the phone, loud enough for the whole street to hear, "There's a criminal in my neighborhood." Her voice was wild, like she was in a movie yelling about a monster. He's breaking the law. He's got illegal stickers on his truck. You need to come now. She kept going, telling the person on the phone all about Jake's crime. She said his truck was a danger. She said he was ruining Pinewood Hills. She said he needed to be stopped. Jake rolled his eyes. He couldn't help it. Illegal stickers? Calling 911? This lady was nuts. He leaned back against the truck, crossing his arms tighter, and watched her yell. He figured she was bluffing, just making a big show to scare him. Okay, lady, he said, shaking his head. You do you. He turned back to his bucket, grabbed the hose, and started rinsing the soap off the truck. Water splashed down, washing away the suds, and he acted like Linda wasn't even there. But here's the thing, Jake didn't see something. Something important. While Linda was yelling into her phone, her hands were shaking. Not just a little, a lot. Her fingers trembled so much she almost dropped the phone. Her voice was loud and mean, but her hands, they looked nervous. Scared, even. Was she just mad about the stickers? Or was something else going on? Jake didn't notice. He was too busy rinsing his truck, watching the water run off the hood. But if he'd looked closer, he might have wondered, why was she shaking? What was she hiding? Linda finished her call and shoved the phone back in her pocket. They're coming, she said, pointing at Jake again. The police are on their way, and you're in big trouble now. Her voice was smug, like she'd won a game. She crossed her arms and stood there, waiting, staring at him with a nasty little smile. She thought she'd scared him. She thought she'd won. Jake just kept washing. He squirted the hose at the tires, cleaning off some mud. Cool, he said, not even looking at her. Tell them to bring pizza. He was joking again, trying to keep it light. He didn't believe the cops would care about stickers. Who would? It was too silly. But Linda's smile grew bigger. Laugh now, she said. You won't be laughing soon. Her voice had a weird edge to it, like she knew something he didn't. The street was quiet again, except for the sound of water hitting the truck. Jake kept working, moving the hose back and forth. Linda stood there, watching, her clipboard still in her hand. The neighbors who'd peeked out went back inside, but a few curtains stayed open, eyes still on the scene. The sun climbed higher in the sky, and the day got warmer. Everything seemed normal except it wasn't. Not anymore. Jake didn't know it yet, but Linda's 911 call wasn't just about stickers. There was more to this, way more. And Linda? She didn't know something either. Something big was coming, and it wasn't what she expected. Her shaky hands, her red face, her loud voice, they were all part of it. But what? Was she scared of Jake? Was she hiding a secret? Or was something else about to crash into Pinewood Hills? What do you think? Was Linda just a mean lady who hated stickers? Or was there a bigger reason she was freaking out? Jake didn't see it yet, but the tension was building. The air felt thicker, like a storm was rolling in even though the sky was clear. Something was off. Something was wrong. And soon, it all come spilling out. Hang on, because this Monday morning was about to get wild. The water from Jake's hose kept splashing onto the truck, making little rivers that ran down the sides and pooled in the driveway. He moved slow and steady, rinsing off the soap suds one by one. The alien sticker winked at him in the sunlight, and he grinned again. Linda's yelling didn't bother him much. He thought she was just a loud lady with too much time on her hands. Calling 911 over stickers? That was nuts. He didn't think the cops would show up for something so small. He figured she was all talk, no real trouble. But oh, Jake was about to find out he was wrong. Very wrong. Linda stood there, a few feet away, her arms still crossed tight. Her face was still red, and that clipboard hung from her hand like it weighed 100 pounds. She wasn't yelling anymore, but her eyes never left Jake. She watched him like a cat watches a bird waiting for the right moment to pounce. Her nasty little smile stayed stuck on her lips, and every now and then, she'd mutter something under her breath. Jake couldn't hear it, but it sounded grumpy. She was sure the police were coming. She was sure Jake was toast. And she couldn't wait to see it happen. The neighborhood stayed quiet for a bit. The birds kept chirping, and the wind kept blowing soft through the trees. A kid rode by on a bike, his bell jingling as he pedaled past. A dog barked somewhere down the street, short and sharp. It all felt normal like any other Monday morning in Pinewood Hills. But there was a weird feeling in the air. It wasn't something you could see or hear. It was something you could feel. Like when you know a storm's coming, even if the sky's still blue. Jake didn't notice it yet. He was too busy with his truck. But Linda? She felt it. And it made her hands shake even more. Jake finished rinsing the hood and moved to the side of the truck. He aimed the hose at the "Honk If You Love Pizza" sticker, watching the water slide over it. Maybe I should get a new one, he said to himself, chuckling. Honk if you love tacos. Nah, pizza's better. He was talking to no one, just thinking out loud. It was something he did when he was alone, like the truck was his buddy. He didn't care that Linda was still there, staring. He didn't care that she'd called the cops. To him, it was all a big joke. A silly lady mad about silly stickers. What's the worst that could happen? Linda heard him talking about tacos and pizza, and her nose wrinkled up like she'd smelled something bad. This isn't funny, she snapped, stepping closer again. Her shoes clicked on the wet driveway, click, click, click. You think you can just laugh this off? You're breaking rules. You're ruining this neighborhood. Her voice was loud again, cutting through the quiet morning. She waved her clipboard like it was proof that Jake was some kind of bad guy. Jake turned the hose off and looked at her. Water dripped from the nozzle, plopping onto the ground. Ruining the neighborhood, he said, tilting his head. It's a sticker, not a bomb. Chill out. He wasn't mad, just confused. He didn't get why she cared so much. It was just a truck. Just some fun. But Linda didn't chill out. Not even a little. She took another step, so close now that Jake could see the sweat on her forehead. It was warm out, sure, but not that warm. Why was she sweating? Why were her hands still shaking? Jake didn't ask. He just stood there, holding the hose, waiting for her to say something else. And she did. Oh, she did. You don't belong here, Linda said, her voice low and mean. People like you messy, Loud, rude, you don't fit in Pinewood Hills. I'm going to make sure you're gone. She poked her finger at him again, almost touching his chest. Her eyes were wide and wild, like she was about to lose it. The police will take care of you. They'll see those stickers and haul you away. Jake blinked. Haul me away, he said. For an alien sticker? Lady, you're crazy. He shook his head and turned back to his truck, grabbing the sponge again. He wasn't scared. He wasn't worried. He thought Linda was full of hot air, just a big talker with no real power. He dipped the sponge in the bucket and started scrubbing the back of the truck, ignoring her completely. Linda didn't like being ignored. Not one bit. She huffed, loud and dramatic, like a kid who didn't get their way. Crazy, she yelled. I'm not crazy. You're the one breaking the law. She stomped her foot, actually stomped it, splashing a little water from one of Jake's puddles. Her face was so red now it looked like it might burst. She pulled her phone out again, checking it, like she was waiting for the cops to call her back. They'll be here any minute, she said, more to herself than to Jake. Any minute now. Jake kept scrubbing. The sponge squeaked against the truck, leaving clean streaks behind. Good for them, he said, not looking up. Hope they like pizza. He was still joking, still keeping it light. He didn't think the police were really coming. Who calls 911 over stickers and expects anything to happen? It was too weird, even for a bossy lady like Linda. But then far off in the distance there was a sound. A faint wail, like a siren. Jake didn't hear it at first. He was too busy scrubbing the hot dog sticker, making sure it shined. Linda heard it, though. Her head snapped up, and that nasty smile got bigger. See, she said, pointing down the street. They're coming. I told you. Her voice was full of glee, like she'd just won a prize. Jake stopped scrubbing and listened. Yep, there it was, a siren. It was soft at first, barely there, but it was getting louder. He stood up straight, sponge dripping in his hand, and looked down the street. Nothing yet, no lights, no cars. Just the sound, growing closer. He frowned a little. Huh, he said. Maybe they're coming for something else. He still didn't believe it was about him. Sirens happen all the time, right? Could be anything, a fire, a cat in a tree, whatever. Not stickers. No way. Linda laughed, a short, sharp laugh that didn't sound nice. Something else, she said. No, no, no. They're coming for you. I told them all about your truck. I told them you're a problem. You're done. She rocked back on her heels, looking proud. Her hands were still shaky, but she hid them behind her clipboard now, clutching it tight. Sweat dripped down her cheek, and she wiped it away fast, like she didn't want Jake to see. The siren got louder. Jake could hear it clear now. Wee-oh-oh, that classic police sound. He set the sponge down on the truck and wiped his hands on his jeans. Okay, he said, crossing his arms. Let's see what happens. He wasn't scared, but he was curious. Were the cops really coming for him? Over stickers? It didn't make sense. He leaned against the truck, watching the end of the street, waiting. Linda paced a little, back and forth, her shoes clicking again. She kept checking her phone, then looking down the road, then glaring at Jake. You're not laughing now, are you? She said. You think you're so smart? You think you can do whatever you want? Well, not here. Not in my neighborhood. Her voice was getting shaky too, matching her hands. She sounded mad, sure, but also nervous. Why nervous? What was going on with her? Jake didn't answer. He just watched her pace, his head tilted a little. He noticed her hands again shaking like leaves in the wind. He noticed the sweat, the way her eyes darted around. She was acting tough, but something wasn't right. You okay, lady? He asked, keeping his voice calm. You look kinda jumpy. Linda froze. Jumpy, she snapped. I'm not jumpy. I'm in charge. I'm fixing this. She waved her clipboard again, like it proved something. But her hands shook harder, and the clipboard wobbled. She gripped it tighter, her knuckles white. You're the one who should be jumpy. The police are almost here. She turned away fast, hiding her face, and stared down the street. The siren was loud now, really loud. Jake could see something at the end of the road. Red and blue lights flashed, faint but getting closer. A cop car. It was real. They were coming. He pushed off the truck and stood up straight, hands in his pockets. Huh, he said again. Guess you weren't kidding. He still wasn't scared, just surprised. He couldn't believe it. Cops for stickers. This was wild. Linda spun back around, her eyes bright. That's right, she said. I wasn't kidding. You're in trouble now, Jake Carter. Big trouble. She said his name like it was a curse, spitting it out. The lights got brighter, the siren got louder, and the cop car turned onto their street. It rolled slow at first, cruising past the neat little houses. Neighbors peeked out again, curtains moved, faces pressed to windows. Everyone wanted to know what was happening. Jake watched the car come closer. It was black and white, with police written on the side in big letters. The lights flashed red, blue, dancing across the wet driveway. The siren stopped, cutting off with a little whoop, and the car pulled up right in front of Jake's house. Linda clapped her hands once, loud and sharp. Yes, she said. Here they are. You're finished. The car door opened, and an officer stepped out. He was tall, with a shiny badge and a serious face. Jake looked at him, then at Linda, then back at the cop. Linda was bouncing a little, like she couldn't stand still. Her hands shook worse than ever, and she hid them behind her back. Jake noticed it this time. Why was she so shaky? Was she just excited? Or was something else going on? He didn't know yet, but he was starting to wonder. The officer walked toward them, his boots thumping on the pavement. Linda rushed forward, clipboard out. Officer, she said, her voice loud and fast. This is him. This is the criminal. Look at his truck, those stickers are illegal. He's breaking HOA rules. She pointed at Jake, then at the truck, then back at Jake. She was talking so fast it was hard to keep up. The officer stopped and looked at her. Then he looked at Jake. Then he looked at the truck. Jake just stood there, hands still in his pockets, calm as ever. Hey, he said to the cop, nodding a little. Nice day, huh? He didn't sound worried. He didn't act guilty. He was just Jake, chill, easygoing Jake. Linda kept talking, her words tumbling out. He's rude. He's messy. He doesn't belong here. You need to arrest him. She was practically shouting now, her face redder than ever. The officer held up a hand, like he wanted her to stop. She didn't. She kept going, waving her clipboard, pointing at the stickers. The alien. The pizza. The hot dog. She hated them all. Jake watched her, then looked at the cop. The officer's face didn't change, still serious, still calm. But his eyes moved to Linda, and he stared at her for a long second. Jake caught that too. Something was up. Something weird. Linda's hands, her sweat, her shaky voice, it didn't add up. Was she just mad? Or was there more? The cop didn't say anything yet. He just listened to Linda rant, his hand resting on his belt. The tension was thick now, like a rubber band stretched tight, ready to snap. The cop was here. Linda was freaking out. Jake was waiting. And the neighbors? They were all watching, holding their breath. What was going to happen? Were the stickers really illegal? Were the cops here for Jake? Or maybe, just maybe, were they here for something else? Something Linda didn't see coming? What do you think? Was Linda about to win? Or was she digging herself into a hole? Jake didn't know. The cop didn't say. But the air buzzed with secrets, and this Monday morning was about to get a whole lot crazier. Stick around, it's only getting started. The next hour after Linda's big 911 call? Oh, it got weird. Really weird. Pinewood Hills wasn't so quiet anymore. The sun was still up, shining bright, but the air felt different now, thicker, like something big was about to happen. Jake Carter was still out in his driveway, his truck all wet and shiny from the washing he'd just finished. The alien sticker sparkled, the pizza sticker glowed, and the hot dog sticker looked like it was ready to dance. Jake leaned against the truck, arms crossed, totally chill. He wasn't worried, not yet. But things were about to get wild, and he didn't even know it. It started with the sound. A loud, wobbly noise cut through the neighborhood. Wee-oh-oh sirens. They were close, really close, and getting louder fast. Jake heard them and tilted his head, listening. Linda Grayson, the HOA queen, heard them too. She was standing a few feet away, her clipboard tight in her hands, and when those sirens hit her ears, her face changed. That nasty little smile she'd had. It turned into a big, smug smirk. She crossed her arms, rocking back on her heels like she'd just won a giant prize. "See," she said, her voice loud and proud. "I told you. I told you they'd come." She pointed at Jake, her finger jabbing the air like a sword. Jake didn't move. He just leaned there against his truck, one eyebrow up a little. He watched Linda gloat, her red face all puffed up with victory. The sirens kept wailing wee-oh-oh, and then, out of nowhere, a cop car zoomed around the corner. It was fast, tires squealing a tiny bit as it turned onto their street. The lights on top flashed red and blue, spinning like crazy. The car didn't slow down much, it just rolled right up and stopped in front of Jake's house with a quick jerk. Dust puffed up from the road, and the siren cut off with a little hoop. Everything got quiet again, but only for a second. Linda clapped her hands once loud, like a crack. "Yes," she said, bouncing a little. "They're here. You're in trouble now." She looked at Jake like she'd caught him stealing candy from a store. Her eyes were bright, and that smirk stayed stuck on her face. She thought she'd won. She thought the cops were here to grab Jake and his silly stickers and drag him away. Oh, she was so sure of it. The driver's door of the cop car swung open, and an officer stepped out. He was tall, with broad shoulders and a shiny badge pinned to his shirt. His hat sat straight on his head, and his face was serious, not mad, not happy, just serious. His name tag said Daniels in little black letters. Officer Daniels didn't mess around. He shut the door with a thud and started walking toward the driveway, his boots thumping on the pavement. Linda practically jumped forward to meet him, her clipboard flapping in her hand. "Officer," she shouted, waving at Jake. "This is him. This is the guy. Look at his truck, those stickers are illegal." Jake stayed where he was, leaning against the truck. He didn't flinch. He didn't run. He just watched, calm as could be. The water from his hose was still dripping off the truck, making little plops on the ground. He crossed his arms tighter and looked at Officer Daniels, waiting to see what would happen. Linda kept talking, her voice fast and loud. "He's breaking HOA rules. He's rude. He's ruining everything. You need to arrest him." She pointed at the alien sticker, then the pizza one, then the hot dog. She was so worked up, her words tumbled over each other. But here's where it got weird. Officer Daniels didn't even look at the truck. Not once. He didn't glance at the stickers, not the alien, not the pizza, not the hot dog. Nope. Instead, he turned his head and walked straight toward Linda. Yep, Linda. His boots kept thumping, steady and slow, right past Jake and up to her. Linda didn't notice at first, she was too busy yelling about Jake. But when she saw the cop coming her way, her smirk froze. Her eyes got big, and her mouth stopped moving mid-sentence. "Ma'am," Officer Daniels said, his voice low and serious, "we need to talk." He stopped right in front of her, hands on his hips, looking down at her with that calm, steady stare. His words weren't loud, but they hit hard, like a teacher telling you to sit down when you're in trouble. Linda blinked fast, like she didn't hear him right. Her clipboard wobbled in her hands, and she took a tiny step back. What?" she stammered, her voice all shaky now. "This is about him." She pointed at Jake again, her finger trembling. "He's the problem. Not me." Officer Daniels shook his head just a little, but enough to make Linda's face go pale. "No, ma'am," he said. "We need to talk to you." His voice stayed low, but it had a weight to it, like he wasn't messing around. Linda's smirk was gone now, totally gone. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again, like a fish out of water. She didn't know what to say. She just stood there, staring at the cop, her hands shaking worse than before. Jake saw it all. He was still leaning against his truck, cool as a cucumber, but now he raised an eyebrow. Huh? The cop wasn't here for him. He wasn't here for the stickers. What was going on? He watched Officer Daniels and Linda, his head tilted a little. Something was off, way off. Linda was freaking out, and the cop wasn't even looking at the truck. This wasn't what Jake expected. Not at all. Linda finally found her voice. Me, she squeaked, pointing at herself. Why me? I called you. I'm the one helping. He's the criminal. She swung her arm back toward Jake, her clipboard flapping like a bird's wing. But Officer Daniels didn't turn. He kept his eyes on her, steady and sharp. Ma'am, he said again, please step over here. He nodded toward the cop car, just a few feet away. His tone wasn't mean, but it wasn't a question either, it was an order. Jake stayed quiet, watching the whole thing unfold. He didn't say a word, just leaned there, arms crossed, letting it play out. Linda's face was a mess now. The red was gone, replaced by a pale, sweaty look. Her eyes darted around left, right, then back to the cop. This is a mistake, she said, her voice loud but wobbly. I'm the HOA president. I make the rules. He's the one breaking them. She kept pointing at Jake, like if she pointed hard enough, the cop would change his mind. But Officer Daniels didn't budge. He took a step closer to Linda, his boots loud on the pavement. Ma'am, he said, I'm not here about stickers. His words were slow and clear, and they hit Linda like a slap. She froze again, her mouth hanging open. Not about stickers? Then what? Jake's eyebrow went up higher. He was starting to get curious, really curious. If the cop wasn't here for him, why was he here? And why was Linda acting so weird? That's when Jake noticed something. Something small, but big at the same time. Linda's clipboard, the one she always carried, the one she waved around like a weapon, it wasn't just a clipboard anymore. There was a paper sticking out of it, caught between the pages. It was ripped at the corner, flapping a little in the breeze. Jake squinted, trying to see it better. The paper was yellow, with black writing on it, and it looked official. Like a ticket. A parking ticket? Wait a sec, what was that doing there? Jake's brain started spinning. A parking ticket? On Linda's clipboard? Why would she have that? Was it hers? Was it someone else's? He didn't say anything, he just kept watching, his eyes locked on that little ripped paper. Linda didn't notice him looking. She was too busy stammering at the cop. I don't understand, she said, her voice high and panicky. What's this about? I didn't do anything. Her hands shook so bad the clipboard almost slipped, and she grabbed it tighter, pulling it close to her chest. Officer Daniels didn't answer her question, not yet. He just pointed at the cop car again. Step over here, ma'am, he said. Now. His voice was firmer this time, like he was done waiting. Linda shook her head fast, her hair bouncing. No, she said. This is wrong. You're supposed to arrest him. She pointed at Jake one more time, her finger wobbling like crazy. But the cop didn't even glance at Jake. He took another step toward Linda, and she stumbled back, her shoe slipping a little on the wet driveway. Jake couldn't help it, he smirked. Just a little. Not loud, not mean, just a tiny curve of his lips. This was getting good. The cop wasn't here for him. Linda was freaking out. And that parking ticket? It was bugging him. What was she up to? He stayed quiet, though, letting it all happen. He didn't want to miss a thing. Linda's eyes darted to Jake, then back to the cop. You're making a mistake, she said again, louder now. I'm the victim here. He's the one with the illegal truck. She waved her clipboard toward the truck, and that's when it happened. The ripped paper slipped out a little more. Jake saw it clear now. Yep, it was a ticket. He could see the word parking in big letters, and some numbers underneath. It was old, wrinkled, like it'd been stuffed in there for a while. Why would Linda have that? Was it hers? Did she get in trouble? His mind raced, but he kept his face calm. Officer Daniels saw the paper too. His eyes flicked to it, quick and sharp, then back to Linda. Ma'am, he said, put the clipboard down. His voice was low again, but it had an edge, like he knew something. Linda clutched the clipboard tighter, shaking her head. No, she said. This is mine. You can't have it. She pulled it to her chest, hugging it like a kid with a teddy bear. But her hands were trembling so bad the paper slipped out even more, dangling in the air. Jake watched it sway. He couldn't read all of it, but he saw enough. A parking ticket. In Linda's clipboard. And the cop? He wasn't here for stickers. Jake's smirk grew a tiny bit bigger. The plot was thickening like a mystery book getting to the good part. What was Linda hiding? Why was the cop after her? He leaned back against the truck, ready to see what happened next. Linda's voice went up higher. "This is ridiculous," she shouted. "I called you. I'm helping. He's the problem." She kept pointing at Jake, but her arm was shaking now too. Officer Daniels didn't say anything, he just reached out, slow and steady, and took the clipboard from her hands. Linda gasped, loud and dramatic. "No," she yelled, grabbing for it, but the cop pulled it away fast. The ticket fell out completely, fluttering to the ground like a leaf. Jake stared at it. Officer Daniels stared at it. Linda stared at it. For a second, nobody moved. The yellow paper lay there on the wet driveway, soaking up water, the black ink smudging a little. Linda's face went white, whiter than snow. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She just stood there, frozen, her hands empty now. Officer Daniels bent down and picked up the ticket. He held it up, looking at it close. He said, his voice quiet but heavy. He turned it over, then looked at Linda. "This yours, ma'am?" he asked. His tone was calm, but his eyes were sharp like he already knew the answer. Linda shook her head fast. "And no," she said. "That's not mine. I don't know what that is." Her voice was all over the place, high, low, shaky. She was lying. Jake could tell. The cop could tell. Even the neighbors peeking out their windows could probably tell. Linda was in trouble, and she knew it. Jake didn't say a word. He just watched, his smirk gone now, replaced by a curious look. A parking ticket? The cop coming for Linda? This was nuts. What had she done? Why was she so scared? He glanced at the truck, then back at Linda. The stickers didn't matter anymore. This was about her, something she'd been hiding. Something big. Officer Daniels held the ticket up higher. "We'll talk about this," he said to Linda. "Over here." He nodded at the cop car again, and this time, he put a hand on her arm, gentle, but firm. Linda yanked back, her eyes wild. "No," she shouted. "You can't do this. I'm the HOA president." But the cop didn't let go. He started walking her toward the car, slow and steady. Jake watched them go. His heart was beating a little faster now, not from fear, but from excitement. What was happening? What did Linda do? That ticket, was it just the start? He stayed by his truck, hands in his pockets, eyes glued to the scene. Linda kept yelling, her voice echoing down the street. "This is a mistake. Let me go. He's the criminal." But nobody listened. The cop kept walking, and Linda kept stumbling along. The neighbors were out now, not just peeking, but standing on porches, whispering to each other. A lady in a pink robe pointed. A guy with a coffee mug shook his head. They all saw it, Linda, the big bossy HOA queen, getting pulled away by a cop. And Jake? He just stood there, calm and quiet, watching it all. The plot was definitely thickening. That ticket was a clue, a tiny piece of something bigger. Linda wasn't just mad about stickers. She was hiding something. Something bad. And Officer Daniels? He knew more than he was saying. Jake could feel it. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. What did Linda do? Why was she so shaky? And what was the cop going to say next? What do you think? Was Linda in big trouble? Was that ticket just the beginning? Jake didn't know yet, but he was about to find out. The hour was getting weirder, and the revelations. They were just starting to spill out. Hang on, this ride's getting wilder. The air in Pinewood Hills was buzzing now. Jake Carter stood by his truck, hands in his pockets, watching everything unfold. His stickers, the alien, the pizza, the hot dog were still wet from the wash, shining in the sun. Linda Grayson was a few feet away, yelling at Officer Daniels, her voice all high and shaking. The cop had her clipboard, and that ripped parking ticket was still on the ground, soaking wet. Neighbors were peeking out their windows, whispering to each other. Things were already weird, but they were about to get way wilder. Suddenly, a loud screech ripped through the street. Tires squealed, and a second cop car zoomed around the corner. It was fast, super fast, like a race car in a movie. The lights on top flashed red and blue, spinning so quick they made Jake blink. The car didn't slow down much, it just roared up and slammed to a stop right next to the first cop car. Dust flew up, and the siren went wee-oh-oh one last time before cutting off. Everyone froze. Jake. Linda. Officer Daniels. Even the neighbors stopped whispering and stared. Linda's eyes went wide, bigger than saucers. Her mouth dropped open, and she looked like she'd seen a ghost. Officer Daniels, the tall cop with the serious face, turned toward the new car. He didn't look surprised, not one bit. He reached down to his belt and pulled out a pair of handcuffs. They glinted in the sunlight, shiny and silver, clinking together as he held them up. Linda saw them and gasped, loud and sharp. "What?" she squeaked, stepping back so fast she almost tripped. Officer Daniels looked right at her, his voice steady and strong. "Linda Grayson," he said, "you're under arrest." The words hit like a thunderclap. Clear. Loud. Final. He stepped toward her, the handcuffs ready in his hands. Linda's face went white, whiter than a cloud, and her whole body started shaking. Jake's jaw dropped. He couldn't believe it. Arrest. Linda. The HOA queen? His mouth hung open, and he stared, totally shocked. The neighbors saw it too. Curtains moved fast now, and gasps came from every house. Faces pressed against windows, eyes wide. A lady in a pink robe dropped her coffee mug. It smashed on her porch with a loud crash. A guy with a dog forgot to hold the leash, and the pup ran off, barking like crazy. Arrest? For what? Linda shrieked, her voice so high it hurt your ears. She waved her arms, her clipboard gone now, taken by the cop. This is a mistake. You can't arrest me. I'm the good one. Officer Daniels didn't answer her, not yet. He just kept walking toward her, slow and calm, the handcuffs dangling. The second cop car's door popped open, and another officer stepped out. This one was shorter, with a big hat and sunglasses. He didn't say anything, just stood by the car, arms crossed, watching. Linda spun around, looking at both cops, then at Jake, then back at the cops. "No," she yelled. "You're here for him. His stickers. His truck. Not me." She pointed at Jake, her finger shaking like a leaf in the wind. Jake didn't move. He stood there by his truck, still stunned, hands deep in his pockets. His jaw was still down, and his eyes were big. Arrest Linda? What was happening? He couldn't figure it out. But then Officer Daniels did something Jake didn't expect. The cop turned to him, right to Jake, and grinned. A real grin, big and bright, like he was about to tell a funny story. "Hey," he said, nodding at Jake. "Funny thing, those illegal stickers? We didn't care." Jake blinked. "Huh," he said, his voice quiet. He tilted his head, confused. The stickers? They didn't care? Then why were they here? Linda stopped yelling for a second, staring at the cop too. Her mouth opened again, but no sound came out. Officer Daniels kept grinning at Jake, like they were buddies sharing a secret. "Yeah," he said. "Those stickers. Not a problem. We've been watching her for weeks." He jerked his thumb at Linda, and her eyes got even wider, if that was possible. Linda's head snapped back. "What?" she shouted, so loud it echoed down the street. "Watching me? That's crazy. I didn't do anything." She stomped her foot, splashing water from Jake's driveway. Her face was red again now, not white, red and sweaty and mad. But Officer Daniels didn't flinch. He stepped closer to her, the handcuffs still in his hand. "Oh, you did plenty," he said, his voice low but clear. "And we know all about it?" Jake's jaw snapped shut. He stood up straighter, leaning off the truck now. His heart started beating faster, not from fear, but from shock. Linda. They were watching Linda? 4 weeks? He looked at her, then at the cop, then back at her. What did she do? His mind raced, trying to put it together. The parking ticket. Her shaky hands. Her yelling. It was all starting to make sense but not quite yet. Linda shook her head fast, her hair flying everywhere. No, she said. No, no, no. This is wrong. I'm the HOA president. I help people. I make rules. She kept yelling, her voice cracking. But Officer Daniels didn't wait. He grabbed her arm gentle but firm and turned her around. Hands behind your back, he said. Linda screamed loud and wild. No. You can't. Let me go. She twisted, trying to pull away, but the cop was stronger. The handcuffs clicked click, click and snapped onto her wrists. The neighbors gasped again, louder this time. The lady in the pink robe yelled, "Oh my gosh!" The guy with the dog whistled, like he was at a show. Kids on bikes stopped riding and stared, mouths open. Linda was cuffed now, her hands stuck behind her, and she kept yelling. This is a lie. I didn't do anything. You're ruining me. Her voice was all over the place, mad, scared, panicky. Officer Daniels turned back to Jake, still holding Linda's arm. His grin was smaller now, but it was there. Here's the thing, he said, nodding at Jake. She's not just an HOA tyrant. She's been breaking the law big time. Jake's eyes went wide again. Breaking the law. Linda. He leaned forward a little, listening hard. This was it, the big reveal. He could feel it. The cop kept talking, his voice steady and sure. Turns out, Linda Grayson's been busy. She's been stealing mail, grabbing letters right out of people's boxes. She's been forging checks, writing fake ones to take money that's not hers. And those parking tickets. He pointed at the wet ticket on the ground. She's been racking them up all over town, using a fake name to hide it. He shook his head, like he couldn't believe it himself. We've been on her trail for weeks, waiting to catch her. That 911 call she made about your stickers? It just made our job easier. Jake's mouth fell open again. Stealing mail? Forging checks? Parking tickets with a fake name? Linda. The bossy lady with the clipboard? He stared at her, then at the cop, then back at her. It was like a puzzle snapping together. All the little clues suddenly made sense. The shaky hands. The sweaty face. The parking ticket in her clipboard. She wasn't just mad about his truck. She was scared of getting caught. Linda screamed again, twisting in the handcuffs. That's a lie, she shouted. I didn't steal anything. I didn't forge anything. You've got no proof. Her voice was wild, and her face was a mess, red, sweaty, and blotchy. She yanked her arms, but the cuffs held tight. Officer Daniels didn't even blink. We've got plenty of proof, he said. Letters. Checks. Tickets. All with your fingerprints. You're done, Linda. Jake couldn't believe it. He stepped forward a little, hands out of his pockets now. Wait, he said, his voice soft but surprised. She's been doing all that? For real? He looked at Linda, then at the cop. Officer Daniels nodded. For real, he said. She's been at it for months. Thought she could hide it, bossing everyone around, acting like she's perfect. But we knew. And now it's over. Linda's knees wobbled. She stopped yelling for a second, just breathing hard, her eyes darting around. The neighbors were loud now, talking, gasping, pointing. She stole my mail, a lady yelled from her porch. I knew it, a guy shouted, shaking his fist. The kids on bikes giggled, whispering to each other. Linda's big HOA power? It was crashing down, fast and hard. Jake shook his head, still stunned. Whoa, he said, looking at his truck. So the stickers, they didn't matter. Officer Daniels laughed a short, quick laugh. Nope, he said. We didn't care about your truck. She called us, thinking she'd get you in trouble. But she just handed herself to us on a plate. He grinned again, giving Jake a little nod. Funny how that works, huh? Jake grinned back just a little. Yeah, he said. Funny. He looked at Linda, then at the cop, then at the truck. The alien sticker seemed to wink at him, like it was in on the joke. Linda. The Queen of Pinewood Hills? She was the real criminal all along. Not him. Not his goofy stickers. Her. Linda started yelling again, but it was weaker now. "This isn't fair," she cried. "I didn't do it. You can't prove it." But nobody listened. Officer Daniels and the second cop started walking her to the car. Her feet dragged, her shoes scraping the pavement. She kept twisting, looking back at Jake. "This is your fault," she shouted. "Your stupid truck. Your stupid stickers." But it didn't make sense, and she knew it. The cops knew it. Everyone knew it. The second cop opened the car door, and Officer Daniels pushed Linda inside, gentle but firm. She flopped onto the seat, still yelling, her voice muffled now. "Let me out. This is wrong. I'm innocent." The door slammed shut bang and her words got quieter, trapped inside. The neighbors cheered, actually cheered. Clapping, laughing, shouting. "Good riddance," the lady in the pink robe yelled. "About time," the guy with the dog called. Jake stood there, watching the car. His jaw was back up now, but his eyes were wide. He couldn't believe it. Linda Grayson, bossy, mean Linda, was a crook. A real crook. Stealing. Lying. Hiding. And all this time, she'd been pointing fingers at him, acting like he was the bad guy. He shook his head again, a little laugh slipping out. "Wow," he said to himself. "That's nuts." Officer Daniels walked back to Jake, brushing his hands together like he'd finished a job. "Sorry about the drama," he said, grinning again. "She's been a headache for a while. Thanks for being cool." He stuck out his hand, and Jake shook it, still a little dazed. "No problem," Jake said. "Glad it's not about the stickers." The cop laughed. "Yeah, those are pretty funny. Keep 'em." The cop cars started up, engines rumbling. Linda's face pressed against the window, red and sweaty, still yelling something nobody could hear. The lights flashed one more time, and then they pulled away, slow at first, then faster, disappearing down the street. The sirens didn't come back on, just the sound of tires rolling away, taking Linda with them. Jake watched them go, hands back in his pockets. The neighbors stayed out, talking loud now, laughing, swapping stories. "She took my package once," a lady said. "I got a ticket I didn't even earn," a guy added. They were mad, but they were happy, too happy she was gone. Jake just stood by his truck, the sun warm on his face, the wet driveway shining. Linda was the real criminal. Not him. Not his truck. Her. Who's the bad guy now, Linda? Not Jake. Not the alien sticker. You. The big reveal was done, and Pinewood Hills would never be the same. By the time the sun started to go down that day, everything had changed. Karen, the mean lady who ruled our neighborhood like a bossy queen, was in big trouble. The police had put shiny silver handcuffs on her wrists, and she couldn't wiggle free no matter how much she tried. Her face was all red and sweaty, and she kept yelling, "This isn't fair. You can't do this to me." But the cops didn't care what she said. They knew she was the bad guy now, not me. Her perfect little world was falling apart, like a sandcastle when the waves come in. The cops had found all her secret stuff, boxes and boxes of things she wasn't supposed to have. There were fake purses that looked fancy but weren't real, and stolen gadgets like phones and music players. They even found some sparkly jewelry that didn't belong to her. The police carried it all out of her house, one box at a time, and loaded it into their big police van. It took a long time because there was so much stuff. I watched from my front yard, and I couldn't believe my eyes. Karen wasn't just a grumpy neighbor, she was a sneaky thief. All the people who lived nearby started coming out of their houses. They stood on their lawns or peeked over their fences, whispering to each other. "Did you see that?" one lady said to her husband. "I always knew Karen was up to something weird," said a guy with a dog on a leash. Some kids rode their bikes closer to get a better look, and a few grown ups took pictures with their phones. Everyone wanted to know what was happening. It was like a big show, and Karen was the star, but not in a good way. Me. I just stood there by my truck, smiling so big my cheeks hurt. My truck looked awesome in the sunlight, with all my funny stickers shining bright. There was the honk if you love pizza one, the my other ride is a dragon one, and of course, my newest favorite, aliens exist, deal with it. Those stickers were the reason Karen got so mad at me in the first place. She said they were ugly and against the rules, But now I knew she was just trying to boss me around while hiding her own secrets. I felt proud standing there, like I'd won a game she didn't even know we were playing. One of the police officers walked by me as they finished up. He was tall, with a shiny badge on his shirt, and he looked at my truck. Then he gave me a little nod, like he was saying, "Nice truck, kid." It wasn't a big thing, just a quick tilt of his head, but it made me feel even better. The cops didn't care about my stickers, they cared about catching the real troublemaker. And that troublemaker was Karen. She was still yelling as they put her in the back of the police car. "This is my house. You can't take me away," she shouted, her voice all high and squeaky. But the cops just closed the door, and the sound got quieter. I could still see her through the window, waving her hands around like a crazy person. The car started up, and the red and blue lights flashed as they drove her away. I waved bye-bye with my hand, even though she couldn't see me. "Good riddance, Karen," I thought. "That's what you get for being mean and sneaky." After the police left, the street got quiet again. The neighbors stopped whispering and went back inside their houses. The kids on bikes rode off, and the dog guy walked away with his pup. It was just me and my truck now, standing there in the cool evening air. I looked at Karen's house across the street. It didn't look so scary anymore. The windows were dark, and her big fancy car was still in the driveway, all alone. She wasn't there to boss anyone around now, and that felt really good. Later that night, my phone buzzed. It was an email from the HOA, the group that makes rules for our neighborhood. I opened it up, and the words made me laugh out loud. It said, "Dear Pinewood Estates residents, Karen Withers is no longer in charge of the HOA. We will pick a new leader soon. Thank you for your patience." That was it, just a short little note, but it was the best news ever. Karen's reign of terror was officially over. She couldn't tell me what to do anymore, and she couldn't find me for dumb stuff like leaving my bike out or having fun stickers on my truck. I ran outside to look at my truck again. The stickers were still there, bright and silly and totally me. I wasn't going to take them off, not now, not ever. Karen had tried so hard to make me get rid of them, but she lost. I won. And you know what? I decided to add one more sticker to celebrate. I grabbed some paper and markers from my house and made a new one right then and there. It said, "Karen's gone, party on," in big, colorful letters. I stuck it on the back of my truck with some tape, and it looked perfect. Every time I'd drive around now, people would see it and know the story, or at least wonder about it. The next day, things felt different in the neighborhood. The sun was out again, and birds were singing like they were happy too. I went outside to check my mail, and a lady from down the street waved at me. "Hey, Jake," she called. "Heard about Karen? Crazy, right?" I nodded and smiled. "Yeah, super crazy," I said back. She laughed and kept walking. Then a guy mowing his lawn gave me a thumbs up. "Good job sticking it to her," he shouted over the noise. I didn't really do anything, but I guess people thought I was some kind of hero for standing up to Karen's nonsense. I liked that. I started thinking about all the times Karen had been mean to me. Like when she banged on my door because my music was too loud on a Saturday afternoon. Or when she left a note saying my trash can was 2 inches too close to the curb. 2 inches. Who cares about that? She acted like she was the boss of everything, but now everyone knew she was just a big fake. She'd been hiding all those stolen things in her house while pretending to be perfect. It was funny, in a way funny and kind of sad for her, but mostly funny for me. I decided to take my truck for a little drive around the block, just to enjoy the moment. I rolled down the windows and turned up my favorite song. The wind felt nice, and my stickers looked awesome as I drove past all the houses. A few people waved at me, and one kid pointed at my truck and yelled, "Cool stickers." I honked the horn once to say thanks, and he jumped up and down, excited. It was the best feeling, like the whole neighborhood was on my side now. When I got back home, I parked my truck in the driveway and sat on my porch for a while. I looked at Karen's house again, all quiet and empty. I wondered what would happen to her. Would she go to jail for a long time? Would she ever come back? I didn't know, and honestly, I didn't care too much. She'd made my life harder for no reason, and now she was gone. That was all that mattered. The days after that were peaceful. No more notes on my truck. No more Karen glaring at me from her window. No more silly fines or rules about stuff that didn't hurt anybody. The HOA picked a new leader a week later, a nice guy named Mr. Thompson who didn't care about stickers or bikes on porches. He even stopped by my house one day to say hi. "Love the truck," he said with a grin. "Keep doing your thing, Jake." I liked him already. One afternoon, I was washing my truck in the driveway when some kids from the neighborhood came over. They were on their bikes, and they stopped to look at my stickers. "Those are so cool," said a girl with pigtails. "Did you make them?" I told her I got some from stores and made others myself. "That new one's the best," said a boy with a baseball cap, pointing at Karen's "Gone, Party On." I laughed and told them the whole story, how Karen got mad at my stickers, called the cops, and then got caught for being a thief. Their eyes got wide, and they giggled like it was the funniest thing ever. "Wow, she was mean," the girl said. "Yeah, but you're awesome," the boy added. I felt pretty cool right then, like I was the king of the street for a minute. The kids rode off, still talking about it, and I went back to washing my truck. The water made the stickers shine even more, and I smiled to myself. Karen thought she could boss me around, but she was wrong. I was still here, and my truck was still awesome. A few weeks later, I heard from a neighbor that Karen's house was for sale. A big sign went up in her yard that said, "For sale, move in ready." I guess she wasn't coming back after all. Someone new would live there soon, and I hoped they'd be nicer than her. Maybe they'd even like my stickers. I pictured a fun family moving in, with kids who'd wave at me and a mom who'd bake cookies or something. That'd be a big change from Karen's grumpy face. Every now and then, people in the neighborhood would bring up the story. "Remember when Karen got arrested?" they'd say, and we'd all laugh. It became like a legend around here, something we'd tell new people who moved in. "Oh yeah, there was this lady who hated stickers, but she was the real bad guy." I liked that. It made me feel like I was part of something big, even though all I did was keep my truck the way I wanted it. My stickers stayed on, and I kept adding more whenever I felt like it. I got one that said, "Beep beep, I'm a Jeep," even though my truck isn't a Jeep. It just made me laugh. Another one said, "Smiley face coming through," with a big yellow happy face. People started honking when they saw me drive by, and I'd honk back. It was like my truck was famous now, all because Karen couldn't leave me alone. Looking back, I realized something cool. Karen thought she was in charge, but she wasn't. She tried to make me feel small, but I didn't let her. And in the end, she was the one who looked silly, not me. The cops took her away, the neighbors cheered me on, and my truck stayed just the way I liked it. That's what happens when you mess with someone who's just trying to have fun. You might end up losing everything. So yeah, that's how it all wrapped up. Karen was gone, justice was served, and I got to keep being me. My truck still sits in the driveway, covered in stickers that make people smile. And every time I see them, I think about that wild day when the cops came not for me, but for her. It's a story I'll never forget, and I bet the neighborhood won't either. So, there you have it, friends. That's the whole crazy story. The nosy neighbor, Karen, who tried to mess up my day, ended up messing up her own life instead. Isn't that wild? One minute, she was yelling at me about my funny car stickers, acting like she was the boss of everything. The next minute, the police were taking her away in handcuffs because she was the real bad guy. It's almost like a movie, right? Funny how things turn out sometimes. I've been thinking a lot about what happened, and it makes me laugh, but it also makes me feel smart, like I learned something big. You see, Karen acted all high and mighty, like she was better than me and everyone else. She walked around our neighborhood with her nose in the air, telling people what to do, like, fix your lawn, or move your bike, or get rid of those silly stickers. She thought she could boss me around just because she was loud and grumpy. But guess what? She had a big secret. She was hiding stolen stuff in her house: fake purses, phones, all kinds of things she took from other people. She was pretending to be perfect, but she was the one doing wrong the whole time. That's the funny part about life, isn't it? Sometimes, the people who act like they're the best are the ones hiding the most. They point at you and say, "You're wrong," but really, they're just trying to keep their own secrets safe. Karen thought she could scare me into changing my truck, but she didn't know the truth would come out. And when it did, bam! She was the one in trouble, not me. It's like when you're playing hide and seek, and the person who's hiding thinks they're so sneaky, but then you find them behind the couch giggling. The truth always finds a way to sneak out, even if it takes a little while. So here's what I want you to think about, okay? Next time someone's giving you a hard time, maybe a kid at school who's being mean, or a grown-up who's acting bossy, just smile and wait. Don't let them make you feel bad. Keep being you, because the truth has a funny way of showing up when you least expect it. Maybe that mean kid is just mad because they lost their favorite toy, or that bossy person is scared of something they don't want you to know. You don't have to fight back or yell. Just keep doing your thing, and watch what happens. It worked for me with Karen, and it can work for you too. Let me tell you a little story to show you what I mean. Back when I was in 5th grade, there was this boy named Tommy in my class. Tommy was loud and kind of a bully. He'd tease me because I liked drawing comics instead of playing kickball at recess. Comics are for babies, he'd say, and he'd laugh with his friends. It made me feel small, like maybe I should stop drawing. But I didn't. I kept making my little superhero stories, even if I hid them in my backpack. One day, Tommy got caught sneaking candy from the teacher's desk. The teacher made him say sorry in front of everyone, and he turned all red and quiet. After that, he didn't tease me anymore. Turns out, he was just acting tough because he didn't want anyone to know he was scared of getting in trouble. I kept drawing, and now I've got a truck full of stickers that make people smile. Tommy. I don't even know where he is now. The truth came out, and I won by just being me. That's what I want you to remember, friends. You don't have to let bullies or bossy people push you down. Karen was like Tommy, she acted big and tough, but she was hiding something. When the police showed up, everyone saw who she really was. And me? I got to keep my stickers and my truck, and now the whole neighborhood thinks I'm pretty cool. It's not about fighting or being loud back. It's about staying strong and waiting for the right moment. The truth is like a superhero, it swoops in and saves the day when you need it most. What do you think about that? Have you ever seen a bully get what's coming to them? Maybe it was a kid at school who got caught being sneaky, or a grown-up who got embarrassed after being mean. I bet you've got a story. Tell me about it in the comments below. I really want to hear what you've seen. It's so fun to share these stories, because they remind us we're not alone. We've all had a Karen or a Tommy in our lives, right? Let's talk about it. Oh, and one more thing, don't forget to like this story and share it with your friends. Maybe your best buddy needs to hear this today, or your cousin who's dealing with a grumpy teacher. Pass it along and spread the good vibes. I love making these stories for you, and it makes me happy when you enjoy them too. You're the best, and I can't wait to bring you another fun tale next time. Let's keep going with this idea for a bit, because it's important. Think about your own life. Who's the Karen in your world? Maybe it's someone who tells you your clothes are weird or your hobbies are dumb. Maybe it's a neighbor who doesn't like your dog barking or a kid who laughs at your lunch. Whoever it is, don't let them win. Keep wearing your favorite shirt, keep playing your favorite game, keep being you. Karen tried to stop me from having fun with my stickers, but she couldn't. And now she's gone, and I'm still here, happier than ever. Here's another little story for you. My friend Mia, she's super cool, once had a teacher who didn't like her drawings. Mia loved making pictures of flowers and animals, but this teacher said, "That's not real work. Focus on math." Mia felt bad at first, but she didn't stop. She'd doodle in her notebook when the teacher wasn't looking. One day, there was a school art contest, and Mia entered her best flower picture. Guess what? She won first place. The teacher had to give her the prize in front of everyone, and she didn't look happy about it. Mia told me later, "I just kept drawing, and it worked out." See? The truth came out. Mia was awesome at art, and the teacher couldn't stop her. That's what I mean by smiling and waiting. You don't have to yell or cry or give up. Just keep going, and things will turn around. Karen thought she could scare me into peeling off my stickers, but she didn't know the cops were already coming for her. She didn't know I'd end up laughing while she got taken away. Life is funny like that, it flips things upside down when you least expect it. I want you to feel strong after hearing this story. You're tougher than you think, even if someone's being mean. Maybe you're quiet, or maybe you're loud. Either way, you've got power inside you. Karen didn't see my power. She thought I was just some guy with a goofy truck. But I stayed me, and that was enough. You can do that too. Be the kid with the comics, the girl with the flowers, the boy with the stickers. Be you, and don't let anyone take that away. Let's imagine something together. Picture a time when someone tried to boss you around. Maybe they said, "You can't do that," or "That's stupid." How did it feel? Did you want to hide, or did you want to fight back? Now picture this, you keep doing what you love anyway. You don't stop. And then, one day, something happens, they trip over their own feet, or the teacher catches them, or everyone sees they're wrong. You're still standing there, smiling, because you didn't give up. That's what happened to me with Karen, and it can happen to you too. I've got one more story for you, because I love sharing these with you. My little cousin Ben, he's only 7, had a kid in his class who made fun of his shoes. Ben's shoes are bright green with little stars on them, and he thinks they're the coolest. This other kid, Jake, said, "Those look like baby shoes," and laughed. Ben came home sad one day, but my aunt told him, "Wear them anyway. They're yours." So he did. A week later, Jake tripped during a race at recess and got mud all over his fancy sneakers. Ben ran past him in his green starry shoes and won the race. Now the other kids think Ben's shoes are lucky. Jake doesn't say much anymore. The truth sneaked out: Ben's shoes were awesome, and Jake was just being a grump. See how it works? Life has a way of fixing things. Karen's gone, my stickers are still here, and I'm having fun. You can have fun too, no matter what anyone says. So keep being you, okay? Draw your comics, wear your starry shoes, put stickers on your bike, whatever makes you happy. The Karens and Tommies and Jakes of the world don't get to decide who you are. You do. I'll wrap this up now, but I want you to leave with a big smile. You're amazing, and don't let anyone tell you different. If you've got a story about a bully getting caught or a time you stayed strong, drop it in the comments. I'm excited to read it. Like this story, share it with your friends, and let's keep the good vibes going. I'll see you in the next one, so stay awesome, okay? You've got this.